Warning. The Maverick Marketer is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious coach, trainer, consultant, or speaker who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches. Without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Drew Edwards. The Maverick Marketer is unleashed.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the Maverick Marketer Unleashed podcast. And we are joined by our co-host, Terry. Terry, how are you?
I'm very good indeed. Thank you, Drew. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. I'm very good. Excited for today's show. So as we sort of touched on last week, me and Terry are both fans of the Netflix original series House of Cards, and I've even mentioned it a couple of times in emails quite recently as well. So if you're on our email list, you would know that already. But in this episode, what we're going to be doing, the main character in House of Cards is a guy who goes by the name of Frank Underwood, he's played by Kevin Spacey. And what we're going to be doing in this episode is we're going to be looking at 10 things that you can learn from Frank Underwood quotes. Now, not all of these quotes are things that are said by Frank Underwood, but they're things that are either said by Frank Underwood or said to Frank Underwood. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
No. By the way, for those who haven't watched House of Cards, go get it now. It's great.
Yes, that's available on Netflix. It's really good. I've said me and Terry are both really big fans. Before we begin, if you enjoy this episode or any of our other episodes, make sure that you are spreading the word. You're telling all your friends and family about it. Any coach, trainer, consultant or speaker, anyone who works in this space, if you think they can benefit from it too, make sure that you're passing it on and sharing it with them. Again, this is something that we do for free. If you want us to keep doing it, then we need it to reach as many people as possible. So please make sure that you are sharing it and you are spreading the word. Remember to subscribe via iTunes. So the Maverick Marketer Unleashed podcast via iTunes to search Maverick Marketer Unleashed. And for show notes, additional resources and free podcast updates, make sure you head over to maverickmarketerunleashed.com. That's maverickmarketerunleashed.com. So, okay, on with today's show. 10 things to learn from Frank Underwood quotes. And the first one is, and again, I spoke about this in the email very, very recently. And the first one is this: if you don't like how the table is set, turn over the table. So if you don't like how the table is set, turn over the table. And what I mean by that, or what that quote really means, is that, I mean, there are some things in life that we just have to accept. We have to accept the way they are. But very often, there's a lot of things that we may not like, but we don't like them. They don't sit well with us for whatever reason. You may not like the situation you're in. You may not like the way you're being treated by someone. You may not like the clients you're working with. You may not like where your business is or how your business is performing at the moment. And you have really two options. You can either accept it the way it is, or you can do something about it. So when we say, if you don't like the way the table is set, turn over the table, it's really about getting up and taking action. This is obviously something that you can apply directly to your coaching, training, consultancy, or speaking business. If you don't like something in your business, if you don't like something in your life, you don't like how many clients you've got or the lack of clients, you don't like how many leads you're generating, then change it. If you don't like the way the table is set, turn over the table. Terry, does that make sense?
Makes absolute sense. And this is all about just taking responsibility rather than whining about it. And, quite recently I was talking to somebody, and she was complaining about a supplier. And as I said to her, Helen, that's your choice. If you don't like the supplier that's supplying you the office furniture, etc., find another supplier. But don't sit there complaining about the supplier. So that's a really good point there, Drew. Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, so that's quote number one. If you don't like how the table is set, turn over the table. Quote number two: is this: for those of us climbing to the top of the food chain, there can be no mercy. There is but one rule: hunt or be hunted. So again, for me, this one really we can sort of we can put this, we can look at we can take that quote and relate it straight back to the way that you market your business, the way that you promote yourself. Now, again, there in this industry, there are a lot of coaches, trainers, consultants, and speakers who shy away from the marketing aspect of their business, almost seeing it as a secondary option, almost seeing it as especially sales. People don't like sales. They shy away from that aspect of the business. If you want to get to the top, if you want to be a leader in the market, you want to be perceived as the expert, you want to charge the highest fees, you want to attract the best clients, you want your clients to come to you rather than you having to chase them, then you have to constantly be marketing. You have to constantly be selling yourself. You have to constantly be hunting for new business. Okay, you will not survive in this industry if you don't sort of grasp that, and you realize that marketing and sales is the number one activity that you need to be doing on a daily basis. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what we find is for a lot of coaches, trainers, consultants, there is this perception that if I do a good job, the clients are going to come running to me. And sadly, that isn't the truth at all, as you well know. It isn't about doing a good job and sitting there by your phone waiting for the phone to ring because clients are going to come banging on the door with a credit card. You've got to be proactive, and that's there is one but one rule: hunt or be hunted. Is so true. If you want to get to the top, you've got to be out there doing the hunting. It really is as simple as that, regardless of whether you do a good job. Drew and I get the pleasure of talking to lots of coaches, trainers, and consultants every day of the week. And the most successful are not necessarily the best at what they do, but they certainly are the best at attracting more clients on a regular basis. That's the key to your success.
Great stuff. Yeah, thank you, Dave, for very good points. Okay, so quote number 3 is this: the nature of promises, Linda, is that they remain immune to changing circumstances. And again, obviously this relates directly to promises, but I'm not just talking about promises that you make other people. Okay, people, usually we are more likely to, I guess, keep a promise that we make to other people, so a promise that you make to your clients, than we are to keep the promises we make to ourselves. This is really what I'm talking about here. So what we tend to do is we set goals, we make commitments, or we say we're going to do something. We make promises to ourselves. But what happens is we break them. We don't do X, we don't do Y. So it could be around anything. Let's look at health and fitness. How many times have you said, or someone that said to themselves, okay, I'm starting my diet on Monday. I'm starting my diet from now on. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to go to the gym every day. Or someone who has committed to doing a certain activity. So if it's sales activity, maybe I'm going to commit to reaching out and calling 10 clients a day. Or I promise to send this many emails a week, whatever it is, right? We all make commitments to ourselves. It's very important that when you make a promise to yourself, especially when it's related to business, that you stick to it. And the nature of promises is that they remain immune to changing circumstances. So when you commit to something, that means, when you truly commit to something, that means that you do it no matter what. When you truly commit to something, that means you do it no matter what. Again, I think we've told the story before, but Dan Kennedy, again, someone that we've mentioned numerous times, and someone whose name will come up whenever you hear someone talk about marketing, or whenever you hear someone who knows what they're talking about anyway, talk about direct response marketing, Dan Kennedy is often the name that comes up. And one of the things that he did early on in his career, he committed. So I'm not sure, Terry, do you know how many books Dan Kennedy's written?
I don't off the top of my head, but yeah, you keep talking. I've got one of these books here in front of me, so I'm going to see if he's got a list of his other books. Okay, no, it hasn't actually. No. Okay,
so I'd estimate he's written at least a dozen books. All right, so 12 books. And one of the things that he did very early on his career is he committed to writing every single day. He committed to writing a page every single day. And because he made that promise, again, as I said, the nature of promises is that they remain immune to to changing circumstances. One of the things he did, and you can view this however you want, you can see it as cold-hearted or whatever. He even committed to write, he even writ on the day of his mother's funeral. And again, that's an extreme example, but the reason he done that is because he had made the promise to himself. He had committed to doing a certain activity. When you truly commit to something, when you truly make that promise to yourself, it doesn't matter what's going on elsewhere in the world, it doesn't matter what circumstances arise. The nature of promises is that they remain immune to changing circumstances. So make sure that you keep your promises to yourself. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and just on Dan Kennedy, I just did a quick check. He's to my knowledge, he's done 16 books so far. And I know he's got a new book coming out any moment soon. And I think the other thing about keeping that promise to yourself, we all know people, be they close friends, associates, who they say they're going to do something. And when they say they're going to do something, you kind of take it with a pinch of salt, because you know what they're like and they're not very reliable. So you don't have much faith in them. Well, in my opinion, what's the most important relationship is the relationship you have with yourself. And if you've got that relationship with yourself where at some level you say, yeah, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but another part of you saying, yeah, you always say that. You always say you're going to do stuff, you never do it. That's not a particularly healthy relationship with yourself. And it is really about, respect for yourself more than anybody else. Because after a period of time, when you say you're going to do stuff, just to yourself, part of you doesn't believe it. But equally important, I guess, is that your clients, your friends, your family, they also feel the same way about you as well. Yeah. When they say they're going to do something, it doesn't really mean it. So, yeah, just to endorse what Drew said there, when you make that promise, it remains immune regardless of changing circumstances, and you just do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Terry. And again, I spoke about this a while back in an email. I mean, we all know someone like this. We know someone who, like, they say they're going to do something. So whatever it is, they say they're going to, again, using health and fitness, say they're going to start their diet, or they say they're going to be on time, but they always say it and they never do it. They never sort of follow through with the diet, or they're always late. We all know somebody like this. And what happens is, you know this, you stop taking them seriously. So whoever this person is in your life, it may even be you. They say they're going to start their diet, and you just take everything they say with a pinch of salt. You don't really trust them. Like, there's nothing against that person. You don't dislike them, but when they say they're going to be here on time, or going to do this, or going to do that, you don't really take them seriously. And it's one thing when you're doing that with other people, but when you start doing that with yourself, when your subconscious mind goes, when you say, I'm going to commit to doing X, and your subconscious mind goes, oh, no, you won't. You said that last week. That's when you have big problems. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it's and when you've got problems with yourself, you've really got problems. Most important relationship is the relationship you have with yourself. Nice one there, Drew. Yeah.
Okay. So the next quote is, there's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth. There's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth. Now, again, this is really talking about testimonials, because when you're selling your services, when you're marketing yourself, whether it's a one-on-one sales situation, whether you're selling from the stage, whether it's written material, one, I guess, obstacle, objection that we're going to have to constantly face, we're promising people results. Okay, we are in a problem-solving business. We are promising to solve someone's problem, and that's all well and good, but in the eyes of our prospects, we're not the first person to give them this big promise. Okay, most people have been let down before. If you say you're going to improve someone's sales, there's a good chance that the person you're selling to has had someone say the exact same sentences as you, and it hasn't worked out, or they've tried something else and it hasn't worked out, whatever it is. And one of the ways you can overcome that, one of the most powerful ways you can overcome that, is by proving it to them. Is showing them the truth. And you do this with testimonials. So if you've got sort of proven testimonials of results that you've got for someone who is or was in the exact same situation they're in. So again, we'll relate it back to sales. Have you got someone whose sales were worse than where they are now, but you helped improve them? If you've got those proven testimonials, then it's very important that you use them in your marketing wherever you can. It's a very powerful tool, very powerful but underused tool. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, and what I'd add to that, for many coaches, trainers, consultants, if you go onto the website, you'll see testimonials, and they're so bland. It says like, yeah, Mr. Smith, the coach, did a great job, Andy. Now, the problem with those kind of testimonials, anybody reading those, take them with a pinch of salt. So just to endorse what Drew said, Drew's absolutely right, but those testimonials have got to be compelling testimonials, and they've got to be believable as well. And one way to overcome any doubts or cynicism that your potential client may have is having the full name and address and their website and everything. So anybody reading that can go, yeah, this is genuine, because they can go and check it out. Yeah, this company exists, that individual works there. Because the thing with testimonials, if you just have the name and it doesn't read true, you'll do yourself more harm than damage. Because going back to the quote about the truth, there is no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth. If there's any doubt about the testimonial, you've got problems. Any doubt whatsoever. So just a name or just a bland, yeah, I did a great job, or I would recommend, and that's it. People are saying, is this true? But with a full testimonial, with a full name and address of the individual that gave you that testimonial, there is no better way to overpower any doubt that your potential client may have.
You're listening to Maverick Marketer Unleashed podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.maverickmarketerunleashed.com.
Okay, thanks, Terry. So the next quote is this: appeal to the heart and not the brain. So appeal to the heart and not the brain. Again, it's something that I've spoken about many times. People buy based on emotion, and then we then justify that buying decision with logic. One of the big mistakes that I see a lot of coaches, trainers, consultants, and speakers make is they're constantly trying to sell based on the logic, based on the rational reasoning for buying their services or buying their products. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this at all and include that in there, but the sort of the biggest influencer, the biggest thing that sort of motivates us to make a decision is emotion. I said before, we are, as a species, we are pre-programmed to either move away from pain or towards pleasure. Every decision that we make is based on doing one of those two things or both of those things. So you want to make it very clear, what pain will your potential client get if they don't buy your services? What pain will someone get if they don't buy your services? Okay. And then also, what pleasure will they get when they buy your services? So two very important things. You need to make it very clear to them what pain they're going to avoid. So what problem are you going to solve? What headache are you going to cure? And also what pleasure they're going to get. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. It does make sense. And what I'd add to that, because we often, don't we, Drew? We get coaches, trainers, and consultants say, yeah, but I'm different, and I'm a very logical individual, and I think that most people think like me and are quite logical. And my response is always the same. Think about the ads that you might see, let's say on TV, as an example. Let's say they're selling a motor car. Now, if you think about it, to film those ads of those, let's say, be it a motor car, must cost them an absolute fortune. And what they could do, they could just have a whiteboard there, and they could just write down all the benefits of the car and keep it really logical. But advertising companies know that that's not going to influence you.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the best examples is if you go and look at a magazine, or if you go into look at a jeweler's and look at the watches on display. Every single watch will display the time of approximately 10 to 2. Because it's very close to a smiling face. Because what watchmakers discovered many years ago is that a watch with a smiley face outperformed in terms of sales than any other time. It's got two main advantages. It's got the smiley face, and it also gives the manufacturer the opportunity to display their logo or the name of their company in the middle of the watch as well. There's a reason for that. As Drew said, we do make our buying decisions based on emotions. We then justify it with logic. And it's important that when you're communicating to your potential clients, that you tap into the client's emotions, what it means to them on a personal level, because that's where they make their decision. So yeah, really good point there, Drew.
Yeah, and if you want to see this in action, I think, in my opinion, the best example of this is if you look at any advert, so especially on TV, whether the aim of the advert is trying to get you to donate money to a charity. Okay, so if you think about sort of charity adverts, what you tend to see is you see someone in a state of extreme suffering, someone in immense pain, someone who's really hungry, someone who hasn't got any water. You see sort of the really dark side of what's going on. And what I guess what the message is look, if you want to stop this pain, right, donate.
Yeah, great example there. And what they will tend to do as well, they will tend to use children to really tap into your emotions.
Exactly.
And as Drew said, it will be that immense pain. And as Drew talked about this, the pain pleasure principle. And sometimes what the charities will do, they'll show you a group of very happy children. And what they're talking about there is that how things could have been for these children, but because of all the donations they had, these children are now very happy and blah, blah, blah. And it's just using the pain pleasure principle. So it's either avoiding the pain or the gaining of the pleasure that motivates all of us in everything that we do. That's a great example that you gave there with charities. Good example, Drew. Thanks.
Great stuff. So the last quote was appeal to the heart and not the brain. The next quote is this: from this moment on, you are a rock. You absorb nothing, you say nothing, and nothing breaks you. And the reason this applies to your coaching, training, consulting, or speaking business is that the more that you market yourself, the more you put yourself out there, the more you differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, which is something that you're going to have to do if you want to be successful. If you want to, so like we said earlier, if you want to charge the premium prices, you want to be perceived as the expert, you want to be the go-to guy or girl in your field, one of the things you're going to have to do is separate yourself from the norm. As soon as you do that, as soon as you start putting yourself out there, one thing is inevitable: criticism. You have people, haters. You have people telling you that you're doing things wrong. You have people not liking what you do. You have people trying to shut you down. Okay, it's unavoidable. It happens. I mean, if you look at any successful person, it happens to all of them. Okay, and it will happen to you the moment that you start putting yourself out there. In fact, I mean, I think Dan Kennedy's got a saying that if you haven't pissed anybody off by noon, then you're not doing enough. So if you haven't got this criticism at the moment, it's because you're not doing enough. So it will happen. Okay, if you want to get to the top, if you want to grow your business, it will happen at some point or another. There's no way to avoid it. The only way to sort of, I guess, protect yourself against it is being immune to it. Being a rock, absorbing nothing, saying nothing, and letting nothing break you, and keep carrying on. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah. And what I'd add to that, you need to be aware when you are getting criticism from people. You need to be. You say you don't need to be, but you need to appreciate what their motivation is as to why they're criticizing you, because often their criticism isn't there to serve you in any way whatsoever, and it says more about the person that's actually criticizing you. And as you probably know, we're relentless marketeers, and you'll see us all over Facebook and LinkedIn and on Google and YouTube, and we're everywhere. And do people criticize us for our ads? You bet they do. Do we get more business? You bet we do. That's why we do it. And we've had instances where people have criticized and said, well, you're not allowed to do that on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. And for Drew and I, that's actual motivation, because we said, well, we'll see about that. Now we will simply step it up. So we've never done any marketing, relentless marketing, and not got more business. So if that's the case, why would we listen to somebody, often our competitors, when they tell us what we can't do? Because their criticism isn't going to serve us in any way whatsoever. What we know for a fact is the more marketing we do, the more clients we get. So in fact, somebody else's opinion of what we're doing really doesn't matter. And that's all it is, by the way. It's somebody else's opinion. It's not a statement of fact. It's simply somebody's opinion. Thanks, Drew.
Okay, so the next quote is, to improve is to change, to perfect is to change often. And again, in your coaching, training, consulting, or speaking business, right, if you are not happy with the results you're getting right now, or even if you're happy with the results but you want to do better, okay, because that's the key thing here. If you want to improve, then one of the things that you will have to do is change. If you're completely happy staying as you are, you're completely happy staying as you are, so don't change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to improve, then you're gonna have to change what you're doing. You're gonna have to be more effective. You're gonna have to improve what you're doing. So again, one of the sort of the things holding a lot of the coaches, trainers, consultants, and speakers back is that they don't want to change the way they're doing things. I guess they're scared to change the way they're doing things. And again, this goes back to what we were saying before about being immune to criticism. They're scared of people criticizing them, so they don't change what they're doing. They stay safe. They keep doing what they're doing because they know that's their comfort zone, if you like. They're afraid to step outside of their comfort zone. If you want to grow, you want to progress, you want to do better, you will have to change, and you will have to change regularly. It's either evolve or become extinct. And as technology develops, that becomes even more true. Now, the principles of marketing may never change. In terms of we use emotions to get people to take actions, in terms of we use direct response, that may never change. But the technology we use, the media we use to get in front of people, I mean, even if you look over the last 5 years, that has changed drastically. Okay, Facebook advertising isn't that old. Again, Twitter advertising is fairly new. Even but the internet as a whole is fairly new. But every day, every week, every month, there's new developments, different ways of doing things, improved way of doing things, more effective ways of generating leads, more effective ways of getting clients. If you're still sort of stuck doing what you were doing sort of 5 or 10 years ago, then you may need to look at that. And that's not to say it's not working. It may be working, but is it the most effective way of doing things? Okay, it may be efficient, as in it gets you some results, but is it the most effective way?
Yeah.
To improve is to change, and to perfect is to change often. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
No, you've summed that up really well, Drew. Excellent.
Great stuff. Okay, so the next quote is this. There are 2 types of vice presidents, doormats and matadors. Which do you think I intend to be? Again, to anyone who hasn't watched the show, this is a bit of background. Frank Underwood is the vice president at points in the show, so that's him saying that. But I mean, we can just replace the word vice president with the word coach, with the word trainer, with the word consultant, or with the word speaker. There are 2 types of coach, doormats and matadors. Which do you think I intend to be? Now, that should be sort of fairly self-explanatory, but you can either sort of sit back, be a victim, get walked all over by your clients, by potential clients, by other people in the industry, or you can be a matador and take things into your own hands. And again, this sort of relates loosely back to what we're saying in the very first quote: don't like the way the table's set, flip the table. But there are 2 types of coach, trainer, consultant, or speaker: doormats and matadors. Which one do you want to be? Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and what I will say to add to that is being the doormat is not a particularly pleasant experience. And if you don't want that pleasant experience, you kind of answer your own question as to which one to be, and you really want to be the matador to enjoy what you're doing. I can't emphasize that enough. As Drew said, it kind of touches on what we talked about earlier. But yeah, really good point.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, the next quote, number 9, is, I wouldn't be sitting here if I wanted a shoulder to cry on. And again, this is sort of related to the previous quote, but the harsh reality is that no one is coming to save you. Okay, you are responsible for your own circumstances. Wherever you are right now in your business is down to you and you only. You can continue playing a victim. You continue moaning and whining about circumstances that are outside of your control. The government, the economy, your competitors, whatever it is, you are responsible. No one's coming to save you. You are 100% in control of wherever you are in your life right now, wherever you are in your business, and it's up to you to do something about it. So you can either sit there and cry about it, or you can pick yourself up and do something about it. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, this is one of those that a lot of people have difficulty getting their head around, and they go, yeah, but, and look, here's the thing about accepting 100% responsibility for everything in your life. See, the moment that you do that, you're saying there is something that I can do about this. See, the moment that you're the victim, you're saying there's nothing I can do about this, so you won't do anything. So if you're not happy with the money that you've got in your bank account right now, and you say, well, okay, I'm responsible for that, you're going to do something about it. If you're not happy with the number of clients you've got right now, and you say, I'm 100% responsible for that, that means that you can do something about it. But if you blame the government, the price of food, the weather, your colleagues, the clients, whoever, you're saying there's nothing you can do about it. So I think this actual mantra is actually absolutely critical to your own personal success.
Awesome, brilliant. Thank you, Terry. Okay, and quote number 10, the final one is this: even Achilles was only as strong as his heel. And again, the message there is that don't let your weakest point be your downfall. And here's what I mean. Here's what you often see, right? I have seen some of the best coaches, the best speakers, the best consultants, the best trainers struggle financially, struggle for clients, for the simple reason that they are not very good at marketing, and they've never made the effort to get good at marketing, right? You can be the best coach in the world, have the best resources, could get the best results for your clients. If you don't have the ability to sell and market your business, it all counts for nothing. Okay, because without marketing, without sales, there would be no business. You would have no clients to serve. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, and just to reinforce that, don't let your weakest point in your business be the cause of your downfall. Whatever it may be, it's your responsibility to be working on your weakest point. Because if you don't, you're leaving yourself vulnerable. So whatever it is, and Drew touched on marketing. It might be the technology you're using. It might be your accommodation where you're working from. Whatever it is in your business, whatever your weakest point is, it's your responsibility to be working on that. Your weakest point. Even Achilles was only as strong as his heel.
Awesome. So that's a wrap for today's show. Remember, if you want to get show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to maverickmarketerunleashed.com. That's maverickmarketerunleashed.com. If you've enjoyed this show, make sure you share it and subscribe via iTunes, and also leave a review as well. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and anything we can do to improve it. It's probably the only time I'll actually ask for your feedback on anything. So take advantage while you can. Terry, again, thanks for joining me.
Yep, a pleasure, Drew.
In the next show, we're going to be looking at the difference between being the expert and being the hired help. So I will speak with you next week. Until then, take care, take action, and be relentless.